You ever notice how some men don't understand what they had until there's nothing left to hold on to? See, when a woman finally walks away, it don't happen in a storm. It happens in silence. And that silence is what breaks him more than any argument ever could. A man can fight your words, debate your anger, dismiss your tears, but he cannot battle your absence. The day you stop answering, the day you stop pleading, the day you stop showing up with hope in your eyes, that's the day his soul realizes he lost something safe. And losing a good woman is a pain that creeps, that haunts, that puts itself deep in his chest when he least expects it. He'll pretend at first, act strong, unbothered, unshaken. Men are taught to man up, to hide the bruises of their emotions. But that's the thing about regret. It don't care how manly you think you are. It hits anyway. It hits in the morning when he wakes up and doesn't see your good morning message. It hits at night when he rolls over and there's no one beside him. No be safe. Text. No checking in, no warmth. You left with your love. But what he didn't plan for is that you also left with his comfort, his cushion from the world. He won't say it out loud. His pride won't let him. He'll tell people he's fine, that he's focusing on himself, but his habits will betray him. You'll see him watch your stories the moment they go up. You'll notice he likes something you posted 3 weeks ago because he scrolled that far back. That ain't curiosity. That's longing. That's him trying to connect to you without having to face the shame of reaching out. See, when a man hurts over losing a woman, he doesn't chase her physically first. He chases her memories. He replays old laughter in his head. He goes back to the exact words you said when you warned him, one day, I'll be done. He didn't believe it then. He always believed you'd stay through everything. But now he's stuck in that replay, wondering how he could have thought you were endless. A man starts to feel that dull ache when his phone stops lighting up with your name. He'll pick it up out of habit, scroll to your contact, then put it down. That pride is heavy. It tells him, be strong, don't call her. But his heart is screaming, just hear her voice. That's the war he lives in, a silent, masculine suffering. He'll talk to other people, but the conversation feels empty. He'll flirt, but it feels rehearsed. Nothing feels new. Everything feels like a cheap imitation of what he had with you. He'll laugh at something with someone else, and then remember the way you laughed at the same kind of joke, except yours echoed differently. Yours felt like love, like familiarity. Nothing hits the same anymore. He'll start appearing where he knows you might be, not on purpose. At least that's what he'll tell himself. He'll go to that cafe, that street, that mutual friend's place. He tells himself he's just living, but deep down he's hoping, praying, maybe he'll just accidentally run into you. Because seeing you one more time feels easier than saying, I miss you, out loud. You know what hurts a man the most after losing you? Realizing how safe he felt with you. You didn't just love him. You believed in him. You encouraged him when the world criticized him. You listened when he had no words. You celebrated his smallest wins like they were trophies. And now all that is gone. The world still demands, judges, pressures, but he has no place to lay that heaviness down. That loneliness is not just being alone. It's being unprotected. He'll start avoiding certain music, certain streets, certain foods, because they remind him of you. That's how you know he's in pain. See, if he felt nothing, he wouldn't avoid. You don't run from what you don't feel. He runs because those things bring back a version of him he lost. The version that smiled differently, breathed differently, existed differently when you were in his life. Sometimes he'll catch himself smiling at a memory and then quickly erase it. Because reality strikes, he can't go back. You were his peace, and he thought peace was permanent. Now he's discovering it was borrowed, not owned, and he failed to protect it. Oh, he'll act unaffected in front of people, make jokes, post pictures like he's living his best life. But pay attention to the eyes. Eyes don't lie. There's a certain dimness, a certain glaze that wasn't there when he was loved right. You can almost see the questions living behind that stare. Is she happier now? Did she replace me? Does she still think about me? Notice he doesn't ask, does she still love me? Because somewhere inside he already knows he lost that. Now he's just desperate to know if he still exists somewhere in your world. Men don't process heartbreak like women. Women cry, they talk, they heal. Men suppress, they distract, they collapse. And when that collapse comes, when the night is quiet, when no one is around, that's when he finally breaks. That's when it hits, she's not coming back this time. He'll type messages he never sends. Hey, I'm sorry. Can we talk? But then pride snatches the phone. He deletes it. He waits, hoping maybe you will break first. But you don't. Your silence is louder than all his what ifs. And nothing terrifies a man more than a woman who no longer reacts. Anger he could handle, tears he could handle. But this quiet, this peace, it tells him something final. You healed from him. He may try to mask it with ego, talk to another woman, pretend he's moved on. But that's just noise. His soul is still sitting in the exact spot you left him, waiting for a closure that will never come. And make no mistake, he remembers the exact moment he lost you, not the breakup. No, that moment you stopped explaining, that moment you smiled with tired eyes, that moment you said, it's okay, but something inside you changed. That's the moment that replays. He'll never admit it, but that single silent shift, when your spirit walked away before your body did, that's where his pain was born. You see, a man doesn't feel the pain of losing a woman when she leaves. He feels it when he finally understands why she left. When he looks back and realizes you weren't demanding perfection. You were begging for effort. You weren't asking for everything. You were asking for consistency. You weren't asking him to be a hero. You were asking him to simply value what he had. And he didn't. That's the pain. It's not just missing you. It's knowing he fumbled a blessing. He might try to come back, not because he's ready, but because he's empty. But a wise woman knows a man hurt by loss is not the same as a man ready to love. He may miss you deeply and still not be capable of giving you what you deserve. And that's the hardest truth for him to face. That missing you is no longer enough to bring you back. That your chapter in his life ended not with a fight, but with a silence that carried your final lesson, love me while I'm here, because when I'm gone, I don't return. You know what shakes a man to his core after you leave? It's not just the absence of your voice, it's the absence of direction. You see, a good woman doesn't just love a man, she builds him. She sharpens his vision, she reminds him who he can be, she gives him a reason to wake up and try. And when she's gone, he wakes up to a world that looks the same but feels empty. He goes to work, sees the same people, follows the same routine, but inside his compass is broken. He can't feel that push, that encouragement, that unseen force that used to be there. It wasn't just love he lost, it was guidance, reassurance, belief. And that kind of loss becomes a silent ache he can't outrun. They say men move on faster, but that's a lie people tell to protect pride. A man may move around faster, sure. He'll go out, talk to someone new, laugh too loud. But moving on, that's different. Moving on requires healing, accountability, reflection, and most men don't go there. They avoid that mirror. They hide from that truth. They distract themselves until the distraction runs dry, and then in that lonely moment, he meets the pain he thought he escaped. That's when it hits him hardest. When no one is watching, when he's forced to sit alone with the sound of his own decisions. There's a moment every man faces after losing a real woman. The moment he realizes he can't recreate her. He can't replicate the way you understood his moods, the way you gave him silence when he needed it and laughter when he was low. See, he took that understanding for granted. He assumed every woman communicates the same, forgives the same, argues the same. But now, he's dealing with surface, level conversations, half-hearted affection, people who don't know his scars. With you, he was known. With others, he's just performing. That exhaustion settles in deep. That's pain. He might try reaching out casually. Maybe he'll send something small, like, hope you're good. But those 4 words carry 1,000 unspoken ones. What he really means is, do you still think of me even a little? But he won't say it. He'll pretend it's nothing, act like he's just being polite. Because admitting he still cares would mean confronting the fact that he never showed it when it mattered most. And that truth, that's heavier than heartbreak, it's shame. Sometimes he'll ask mutual friends about you. Not directly, oh no. He frames it like curiosity. How's she been? She okay? But what he's really listening for is whether your life got better without him. That's the fear that burns him. The idea that you healed. You rose, you glowed without him. See, it's not just losing you that hurts. It's watching you thrive without looking back. That's the wound his pride can't bandage. And let me tell you something. When a woman truly heals, a man can feel it. He can sense that shift. You don't post out of hurt anymore. You post out of joy. You don't hide to get his attention. You shine because you moved on. You don't reach out. You don't argue. You don't prove. And that calmness is his storm. Because as long as a woman is angry, he believes she still cares. But when she's unbothered, when her eyes no longer hold his reflection, that's when he feels the finality. That's when panic sets in. He'll remember the last conversation, the last look you gave him. He'll replay it, trying to figure out if there was something he could have said differently. He'll analyze your silence, looking for signs of hope. Maybe she still loves me. Maybe she'll come back. That flicker of hope becomes his torture, because hope without action becomes self-punishment. He wants you back, but he still doesn't know how to show up. He wants forgiveness, but he won't speak truth. So he lives in limbo, stuck between regret and pride. He'll talk to himself more than he talks to anyone. Maybe if I had just listened more, maybe if I had taken her serious when she cried, maybe if I had just given her the reassurance she asked for. But maybe is a useless word. It's an echo of too late. And that's when pain turns into a lesson. But unfortunately, lessons don't bring people back. They only remind you of what you should have valued when you had the chance. Men like to act like they don't care about closure. They'll say, it is what it is. But that's not closure. That's avoidance. True closure is understanding the damage you caused. And most men never get there until they feel the emptiness, until they scroll through old pictures just to hear your laugh through memory, until they read old messages just to feel what it was like to be loved without question. That's when it breaks them. The realization that they were loved deeply and they mishandled it casually. He may try to convince himself that someone new will fill the space, but emptiness created by genuine love cannot be filled with temporary company. He can change partners, change routines, even change cities, but that hollow feeling travels with him, because what he's mourning is not just a person. It's a version of himself he only knew with you. You brought out the softness in him, the warmth, the vulnerability. Now he wears stone where he once offered touch. That's grief. There are men who will return, not because they're ready to love, but because they're incapable of living with the loss. They'll come back confused, saying things like, I don't know what I feel. I just know I miss you. That's not love. That's emotional hunger. A wise woman knows the difference. Love returns with clarity, apology, responsibility. Pain returns with chaos, fear, desperation. And no matter how much he hurts, he may still not be the man who can protect your heart. That's the curse. He finally feels what you felt, but far too late to fix it. He will scroll through your life silently, witnessing your glow. And each smile you show without him, that's another reminder that he lost something he didn't fight for. You became a memory he can't access, a chapter he can't rewrite. You turn from a person into a consequence. That's a pain deeper than heartbreak. It's accountability. And I'll tell you this, no man forgets the woman he hurt who healed without him. He may marry someone else, have children, build a new life, but your name will live in the corners of his honesty. In the questions he asks himself when no one is around, you become his almost, his what if, his silent confession. He will never say it publicly, but in his private truth, he knows he lost the one who loved him with everything. And that stays. Yeah, he's laughing in pictures, but grief wears masks. Yeah, he's surrounded by people, but crowds don't cure loneliness. Yeah, he's posting quotes about strength, but strength isn't real if it's hiding sorrow. He's not strong. He's surviving. There's a difference. And when the lights are off, when the world is quiet, he breaks. Because you can't lie to the dark. You can't lie to silence. In those moments, he admits what he'd never say out loud. I didn't expect her to really leave. I didn't think she'd choose herself over me. That's when pain becomes real. There comes a point after losing you where his greatest battle becomes with time. Days don't feel the same. They don't roll by with ease like they used to when he had your presence to anchor him. Back then, he knew, no matter how hard the day was, you were there. Maybe you argued, maybe things were rocky, but you were there. Now, every hour that passes without your voice feels longer. He checks the clock more, gets restless in the evenings. It's like his soul keeps waiting for something, waiting for that buzz on his phone, waiting for that, did you eat? Message. Time used to be his friend. Now it's his reminder that he hasn't heard from you in weeks, months. And that realization starts tearing at him because deep down he knows it's his fault. He goes through his day like normal, but normal doesn't feel right. He'll laugh at jokes, but the laughter doesn't reach his eyes. He'll show up to places he used to love, but there's no joy in it. Everything feels slightly muted, like life faded a shade after you left. He won't say it out loud, but he feels out of place wherever he is now. You brought warmth to spaces. You made the ordinary feel like it mattered. Without you, even the brightest place feels cold. That's what he doesn't tell anyone, how the world changed after you walked away. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't scream. It lingers. It sits in silence heavy. And that's the pain he carries now. Not loud, not obvious. It's in his pauses. It's in the way he stares at his phone but doesn't text. It's in the way he goes to bed earlier, not because he's tired, but because there's nothing worth staying awake for. He doesn't crave the night anymore. Nights were when he had you. Nights were when you two talked about dreams and fears. Now the night exposes him. It reminds him that everyone he loves is gone or sleeping, and he is alone with his memory of you. And memory is ruthless. It doesn't give him the fights, the problems, the arguments. No, it gives him the best parts. It brings forward your laughter, the softness in your eyes when you looked at him, the way you used to fix his collar, straighten his hair, remind him to eat, pray, sleep. Memory doesn't show him when you were upset. It shows him the version of himself he was when you loved him. And that's what hurts. He misses the man he was with you. Because without you, he sees his flaws more clearly. He can't hide from them anymore. You used to call him out, yes, but you believed in his better side. Now he only sees his worst. He'll try to act reckless like nothing matters. He'll go out late, drink more than he should, surround himself with noise. He'll make it look like he's having the time of his life. But that's all distraction. The truth is, he's trying desperately to drown the silence you left behind. Because silence is where your memory speaks the loudest. And he can't bear it. He's afraid of what it might tell him, that he truly lost the only person who ever understood his soul without needing explanation. There will be moments when he thinks about reaching out. He'll type, delete, type again. He'll think of excuses just to start a conversation. I found something that reminds me of you. Hey, I was just checking. But every time pride pulls him back. Pride says, she moved on. Don't look weak. But the heart whispers, what if she didn't? What if she's waiting? So he stays stuck, trapped between fear and hope. And neither brings him peace. He doesn't tell anyone how jealous he gets now. How the thought of another man making you smile kills him inside. How he wonders if someone else is hearing your laugh, seeing your softness, receiving the care he once casually brushed aside. He imagines you dressed up, happy, free, and he hates it. Not because he doesn't want you happy, but because he wasn't man enough to be the reason for it. That's a different kind of pain. The kind that stays. He'll start to isolate more, not because he wants to, but because you were his person. You were the one he vented to, the one who told him to hold it together when life got rough. But now, who does he turn to? His friends don't get it. They tell him to forget her, move on. But they don't know. They don't know how deeply you were woven into his routine, his mornings, his nights. He's not grieving a relationship. He's grieving a life within a life, a home inside a soul. And once you lose that, nothing feels like home anymore. Some nights, he'll go through your old texts. He won't admit it, but he does. He'll scroll through the messages where you encouraged him, told him you believed in him. And he'll break a little when he sees how many times you said, I love you, because now those words belong to the past. Now he reads them as history, not promise. That's when regret hits hardest, not during the breakup, but during the quiet replays of all the times he failed to say, I love you too, with action. And here's what really tears him apart. He remembers the warnings. He remembers when you told him you felt unseen, unheard, forgotten. He remembers shrugging it off, thinking you'd always stay. Men always think love is guaranteed. They think loyalty means permanence, but loyalty without nourishment eventually fades. You didn't leave because you stopped loving him. You left because he stopped noticing you were loving him. That's the memory that haunts him. How he ignored the red flags, how he thought your tears were routine, not rupture. He'll start to change in small ways. Start working out, start reading more, start trying to improve. People will say, he's doing better. But what they don't understand is that every improvement is rooted in loss. He's only changing because he's finally seeing what you meant when you said, I need effort. He's learning lessons you cried over, lessons you begged him to learn when you were still there. But that's the irony. Some men only grow in the garden you no longer water. He may try to date again to fill the void, but every time he feels something real with someone new, he pulls back. You know why? Because if she gets too close, he risks facing who he was the last time he was loved, and he still hasn't forgiven himself. So instead, he keeps things shallow, smiles, jokes, surface affection, because depth reminds him of you. This is when he starts to understand something painful. Loving someone new doesn't erase the pain of losing someone true. He thought it would, but now he knows you can replace company, you can't replace connection, you can replace presence, but not presence of soul. And that was you. He'll wake up one day and realize this pain he's carrying isn't going anywhere, because it's not heartbreak anymore. It's responsibility. It's awareness. It's knowing he was loved deeply and failed to give it back fully. And that awareness, that stays. You become his silent teacher, a voice he hears in his better decisions, a name that lives in his forgiveness, a memory that humbles him when ego tries to rise again. By the time a man reaches this stage, pride starts to loosen its grip. It no longer feels powerful to stay silent. Silence now feels like punishment. He's replayed everything in his head over and over, every moment, every warning, every tear. And what once felt like stubbornness now feels like fear of being too late. He begins to ask himself questions that he never dared to face before. What if she truly moved on? What if she finally found someone who values her? What if I don't get another chance? These questions don't make noise. They echo quietly, deeply, like footsteps in an empty house. He knows he could try to reach out, but he also knows reaching out now risks confirming his worst fear that he lost her for good. There is a moment, a specific moment, when a man realizes he is no longer waiting for her return. He is living in the consequences of his choices. That's when change no longer feels like an option. It feels like a debt. He starts to plan the words he'll say if he ever gets just 5 minutes with her. Not to argue, not to defend himself, but just to say, I understand now. Because understanding is all he has left to offer. He knows he cannot undo what was done. He cannot ask her to forget the night she cried herself to sleep while he brushed off her pain. All he dreams of now is a moment to show her he finally sees what she needed: safety, reassurance, partnership. What people don't see is how heavy shame becomes when it quiets a man. Shame doesn't make him loud. It makes him withdrawn. You'll notice he stops posting those prideful little jokes. He stops pretending he's unbothered. He disappears from places he once flaunted himself, because everywhere he goes, someone might ask, what happened? And he doesn't have the courage to admit, I lost her. I wasn't the man she needed. So he avoids everyone, everything. He isolates not to heal, but because he's struggling to face his reflection. He's battling someone more painful than any rival himself. He'll start revisiting old messages, not yours, his, the ones where he dismissed your feelings, where he minimized your hurt, where he made you feel dramatic for needing reassurance. And those words will haunt him, because now he finally understands what you meant. He'll see the coldness in his tone, the distance in his responses, and he'll be heartbroken by the man he was. That's the kind of pain nobody notices. They think he moved on. They don't know the war happening inside him. You taught him about love. Now loss is teaching him about accountability. Regret takes many forms, but the worst is realization without repair. He starts to crave closure, not because he wants to move on, but because he wants to confess. To finally take responsibility for every moment you felt unseen. Every time he made you question your own worth when all you ever wanted was effort. But closure requires courage, and courage is something he is only now learning to build. So he lingers stuck between returning and retreating. His fingers hover over your name in his phone, battling between hope and humility. He may try to send something small, a nostalgic picture, a familiar phrase, something coded, something safe, because saying I miss you feels too raw. He hopes maybe you'll understand the hidden message. Maybe you'll open the door. But if you don't respond, he breaks further. Because your silence now feels final, not emotional. You're no longer protecting your ego. You're protecting your peace. And that difference is what terrifies him most. There is something incredibly painful for a man about seeing a woman he loved rebuild herself. He'll see that glow come back into your eyes, the glow he once dimmed. He'll see your laugh become free again, the laugh that used to be followed by a sigh. He'll see your shoulders relax in photos, the shoulders that once carried his weight. And he'll recognize it, not because he remembers you that way, but because he's seeing now what you were always meant to be, and he realizes he was never your safe place. He was your test, and you passed. He'll try to heal, but healing feels like betrayal, because healing means accepting the loss, and he's not ready to accept that someone else might hold what he once took for granted. So he remains emotionally suspended, not fully gone, not fully present. He pretends to move on, but his heart remains anchored in a past he didn't respect. He can't laugh without comparing, can't feel affection without flinching, can't feel admiration without wondering, does she feel safer here than she did with me? That question never leaves him. His dreams shift from reunion to redemption. He no longer dreams of you coming back. He dreams of one day being able to look you in the eyes and be a man you wouldn't regret loving. That's the kind of growth that comes through heartbreak, not the heartbreak you feel, the heartbreak he caused. He starts to silently build, improve, evolve. But here's the truth, he's not doing it for you anymore. He's doing it because he cannot live with the version of himself that lost you. He's trying to forgive himself. That's the hardest forgiveness there is. You will always be the story he never finishes telling. When he speaks of love years from now, your name won't be mentioned, but your presence will be. He'll describe the woman who believed in him before he believed in himself, the one who stayed too long, the one who taught him love is a responsibility, not a reward. And he'll say, I lost her because I wasn't ready. And people will nod, but only he'll know how deeply that loss lives in him. Only he'll feel how every moment of joy carries a shadow of if only. And here's the final truth he faces, the truth that breaks him more than anything. He may finally be ready to love you the way you always asked, when you are no longer available to receive it. That's the tragedy of late realization. The embrace is ready, but the arms are empty. The apology is sincere, but the audience is gone, because some men learn love only through loss, and some women, the strongest ones, never return once they've taught their final lesson. He discovers something powerful too late. It was never that you stopped loving him. It was that you finally started loving yourself more. And that kind of decision doesn't reverse. That kind of woman doesn't go backward. She only moves forward, without anger, without hate, without grudges. Just grace. And that grace, that's what remains in his memory. Not the fights, not the tears, but the softness you carried even when you were breaking. The love you gave even when it wasn't returned. He will never meet another woman like that again. And he knows it. One day someone will ask him, have you ever been in love? And he will pause, not because he doesn't know the answer, but because saying your name out loud would hurt too much. So he'll just nod and say once, and that once will echo for a lifetime.